Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are absolutely thrilled to have you with us today because we are unpacking a stack of sources that serves as an absolute masterclass in narrative tension and, well, psychological horror.
It really is a masterclass. The material we're looking at today is just phenomenal.
It is. I want you to imagine, just for a moment, that you are tracking a monster, a truly terrifying predator. You've gotten used to his hunting grounds, the dark alleys, the abandoned industrial zones, the places everyone tells you to lock your car doors when you drive through.
The places you expect to find a monster.
Exactly. But then one day, the monster decides to completely flip the script. He leaves his lair, steps out of the shadows, puts on an impeccably tailored tuxedo, and walks right through the front door of high society.
It completely upends the traditional rules of engagement. I mean, when a predator operates out in the open, bathed in the light of crystal chandeliers rather than the flickering glow of street lamps, the terror doesn't diminish.
No, not at all.
It actually amplifies because the environment itself lulls everyone else into a false sense of security.
Okay, let's unpack this, because that is exactly the mission of our deep dive today. We are exploring a thrilling narrative shift in the serialized story, The Butcher of the Bottoms.
Yeah, and the sources for this are incredible.
We got our hands on excerpts from the original 1964 series Bible, along with recovered script fragments and in-universe case files for Episode 7, which is titled The Silk Gown.
And that series Bible really grounds us in a highly specific, very volatile world. It's 1964 Kansas City. The writers describe this era in the documents as a post-Pendergast vacuum.
Right, the political machine.
Exactly. Now, for those who might not know, the Pendergast machine was a massive political syndicate that essentially ruled Kansas City for decades. They controlled the police, the politicians, the concrete, everything. So a post-Pendergast vacuum means that entrenched old-world power structure has just collapsed, leaving total chaos in its wake. The city is caught in this turbulent transition, dealing with modern civil unrest while trying to figure out its own fractured identity.
And up until this point in the story, everything has been anchored in an area called the West Bottoms.
Yeah, the mud.
The sources describe it as this massive industrial labyrinth. It's a sprawling network of livestock pens, abandoned silos, and these forgotten Prohibition-era tunnels connecting Union Station to the river. It's gritty, it's muddy, and is the perfect place for a killer to hide.
Which brings us to a core theme the writers established for this series, something they call behavioral probability.
Right.
What's fascinating here is how that concept plays out. The series Bible defines behavioral probability as the statistical likelihood of death based on everyday choices.
It's the risk assessment you do in your head every day without even realizing it.
Exactly. It's the terrifying idea that a single wrong turn down a dark street, deciding to hitchhike, or even just leaving a first-floor window open on a hot night can drastically alter your chances of survival. In the West Bottoms, the characters and the audience understand those odds.
You know you are in danger the second you step foot in the mud.
Precisely.
Right, if you walk through a dark tunnel at 2 a.m., your guard is up.
Yeah.
But as we transition into Episode 7, The Silk Gown, the setting shifts entirely, and so do those probabilities.
The odds of survival completely change.
They do. The source materials actually give us the precise moment the killer changes his hunting ground. The date is October 28, 1964. We are completely out of the West Bottoms now. We have entered Quality Hill.
The wealthiest neighborhood in the city.
The event is the Crystal Leaf Autumn Ball, held at the sprawling Van Brunt Mansion, hosted by Mayor H. Davis himself. We are trading the smell of livestock for expensive perfume and abandoned silos for gilded ceilings.
The contrast is incredibly striking. The industrial rot has been entirely replaced by luxury and exclusivity. And this is where the genius of the narrative shift lies.
Because a butcher is there.
He is. The antagonist, whom the police believe to be a disgraced underground surgeon named Silas Vane, has infiltrated this gala. But he hasn't just sneaked in through a side door disguised as a waiter.
No, he is on the guest list. He is listed as a late addition. A Dr. Sterling from Chicago, claiming to be a pioneer in restorative medicine.
The audacity of that is just chilling.
The description of him in the script fragments is so vivid. It says he is tall, silver-haired, wearing a charcoal wool suit that fits like a second skin. He isn't hiding in the corner. He is actively socializing. Now, I look at document AA and I wonder, is he just putting on another surgical mask for this specific hunt? You're just playing a part, putting on a cold, calculated performance to get close to a new type of victim.
It's tempting to think of it that way. It's just another disguise in a serial killer's toolkit. But
No.
I actually challenge that. Yeah. If you look closely at the marginalia in the case files, there's a note from Detective Marcus Thorne.
Right, the forensic investigator.
Yeah, and the series Bible points out that Marcus is one of the first black homicide detectives in the KCPD. Interestingly, he has no relation to the killer's suspected real name, Dr. Eris Thorne.
Just a coincidence of the name.
Right. But Marcus writes this desperate note to his partner, Detective Sullivan. He says, "Sullivan, this is him. He is not Silas Vane tonight. He is the ghost of Eris Thorne."
So you think he isn't playing a character at all?
Exactly the opposite. He is stepping back into a world he used to belong to. Remember, before he went underground in 1961, Eris Thorne was a prominent surgeon.
He was one of them.
He knows which fork to use. He knows how to speak the language of old money. He is comfortable here, and that makes him infinitely more dangerous than a brute in an alley.
Because he fits right in.
When he was in the West Bottoms, he was a creature of the dark. In Quality Hill, under the alias of Dr. Sterling, he is fully in his element. He is casually strolling through a ballroom, essentially shopping for, as the killer's own log puts it, high-quality material, right out in the open.
High-quality material. There is a really unsettling disconnect there. He's standing in a ballroom drinking champagne, but he's calculating the biology of the people around him.
It's purely clinical for him.
So let's talk about who he is shopping for. Because the in-universe documents include Document CC, a donor profile. This details his primary target for the evening, the silk gown victim. Her name is Claire Montgomery. She is a 21-year-old heiress to a shipping fortune.
But the profile includes a very specific, tragic medical note.
Right.
Claire is a survivor of childhood polio, and she has a slight, noticeable limp in her left leg.
Here's where it gets really interesting, and where we get a look inside that compartmentalized mind. We have a recovered fragment of the butcher's own log.
This part is so disturbing.
It is. I'm going to read this directly because it perfectly captures his delusion. He writes, "The Montgomery girl is almost perfect. Her spirit is strong, but her frame is flawed. I can give her the gait of a goddess."
Notice the language there. He doesn't just want to kill her, he wants to fix her.
Fix her.
This ties directly back to the series Bible's description of his overarching motive, which the writers term biological architecture. He isn't a standard serial killer motivated by revenge, sexual power, or simple destruction.
He rebuilds them.
He reconstructs humans, and to do this, he has been grafting biological material from the livestock in the West Bottoms onto his human victims.
Right, the log continues with exactly how he plans to do this to Claire. He writes, "I have the porcine tendons ready. I just need the silk to bind the new to the old. The masterpiece requires a pedestal."
It's horrific.
Porcine tendons.
Wow.
He is talking about pig tendons harvested from livestock pens and high-grade silk to bind it to her leg. How does a human mind justify that kind of horror?
It's a complete, perverse corruption of the medical oath. Most standard murder motives are rooted in a desire to harm. But the butcher's twisted sense of help is far more chilling because he genuinely believes he is performing a vital divine service.
He thinks he's a savior.
He looks at Claire Montgomery and doesn't see a person. He sees a masterpiece with a flawed frame that only his genius can correct. The scariest villains aren't the ones who think they're doing evil. They're the ones who are absolutely convinced they are doing good. He views his horrific violence as an act of profound healing.
It's just terrifying to think about. I want you to put yourself in the shoes of the protagonist for a second.
Yeah, imagine knowing all this.
You know exactly what this man is planning. You know about the pig tendons and the surgical horror awaiting this young woman. But you are completely out of your element in Quality Hill. This brings us to the high-stakes undercover aspect of the episode.
The alliance of the three protagonists.
We have Detective Jack Sully Sullivan, who represents the old blunt force KCPD, Detective Marcus Thorne, the sharp, forensic-minded investigator, and Eleanor Vance, a fierce investigative reporter for the Kansas City Star.
Eleanor is such a brilliantly written character. The series Bible calls her the public eye. It notes she was the very first person to see the serial pattern that the police department, under pressure from City Hall, actually wanted to bury.
Because it was bad for optics.
Exactly. And because of her family background in Episode 7, Eleanor is the only one who has the social standing to actually be inside the Van Brunt mansion. The documents include Document BB, a hidden wire transcript.
She is wearing experimental, bulky 1964 KCPD tech, right in the middle of the grand ballroom.
The bravery that takes is incredible.
The dialogue in this transcript is masterfully paced. You can feel the sweat through the page. Eleanor is whispering into the wire, communicating with Marcus Thorne, who is in a surveillance van blocks away. She tells him she is standing just 10 feet away from Dr. Sterling.
And she spots a detail that grounds the horror. She whispers, "He has the same hands I saw in the tunnel sketches." Meticulous.
That confirmation right there.
She watches him interact with Claire Montgomery. He's charming the young heiress, talking to her about biological symmetry. And then he touches her. But Eleanor realizes, with a sickening drop in her stomach, that he isn't just shaking her hand or engaging in polite high society flirting.
No, she realizes he is feeling her pulse. Eleanor observes that he looks at Claire like a piece of marble he is about to carve. Marcus, over the radio, realizes what's happening and warns Eleanor not to get any closer. He realizes the butcher is profiling the room. As they observe his movements, Marcus notes he is casually checking Claire for blood type indicators, assessing her bone density through her posture.
As Marcus puts it, he isn't there to dance. He is there to shop.
Eleanor is witnessing a horrific clinical surgical assessment happening right in front of hundreds of people, completely disguised as charm. She asks over the radio, "Sullivan, where are you? We need to move in."
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is where the social commentary of the series just hits you like a freight train.
Oh, absolutely. Sullivan's response is infuriating.
Sullivan is stuck at the back service entrance. He replies over the wire that the mayor's private security is physically blocking the service stairs. They outright refuse to let the common police into the ballroom.
Why? Because a couple of detectives in cheap suits would ruin the mood of the gala.
It's like ignoring the fire alarm because the noise is ruining the dinner party. It's a brilliant commentary on class and willful ignorance.
They care more about aesthetics than safety.
The city's elite are so insulated by their wealth and their status that they would rather protect their exclusivity than acknowledge a legitimate mortal threat. By literally locking the police out, they are inadvertently creating the perfect, undisturbed hunting ground for a predator.
Think about how isolating that is for Eleanor.
She is entirely on her own in a room full of people. The social hierarchy has barricaded the authorities outside, leaving the monster inside with the keys to the castle.
It's so tense. And it gets exponentially worse because the butcher has evolved his methods to perfectly match this affluent environment. The source materials include Document DD, a forensic analysis from a character named Dr. Abernathy.
Right, Marcus managed to bribe a caterer.
He did. He got a caterer to swipe a specific champagne flute from the gala earlier in the evening.
Which is crucial because up until this point, the series Bible tells us the butcher's modus operandi relied heavily on sodium pentothal. That's a classic injectable sedative.
And a needle?
Right. But an injection requires close proximity, a struggle, a needle. It is inherently violent, it leaves a mark, and it causes a scene. You can't do that in a brightly lit ballroom.
You'd be spotted instantly. But Dr. Abernathy's analysis reveals a terrifying shift in tactics. He didn't find sodium pentothal on that glass. He found traces of a topical paralytic on the rim of the champagne flute.
Something much, much faster.
Let's talk about the science of that for a second, because Abernathy notes it can be absorbed directly through the skin or mucous membranes.
This is transdermal and transmucosal delivery. Unlike a needle that has to break the skin to enter the bloodstream, a topical paralytic on the rim of a glass gets absorbed by the mucous membranes of the lips and mouth the second the victim takes a sip.
It's instant.
It bypasses the digestive system and hits the bloodstream rapidly. This is the mechanics of the trap, and it is horrifyingly elegant. The butcher doesn't need to drag her into an alley. He doesn't need to use physical force at all.
He just needed to briefly brush his thumb against the rim of her glass while politely handing her a drink.
The illusion he's creating is just sinister.
It's weaponized etiquette. Dr. Abernathy explains the timeline in his report. In 20 minutes, Claire will become symptomatic. The paralytic will cause respiratory suppression and muscle weakness. She'll start to stumble. She won't be able to speak clearly. Her eyes will droop.
And what will everyone at this high society ball assume when they see a 21-year-old heiress stumbling, slurring her words, and leaning on a gentleman for support?
That's the tragic part.
They won't think paralytic toxin. They will simply assume she had too much gin.
Exactly. If you see someone struggling to walk at a party, your brain doesn't immediately jump to kidnapping. You politely look away to save them the embarrassment.
You give him space.
He is using their own social grace as the actual weapon against them. Abernathy's report spells out the grim reality. He won't need to kidnap her violently. When she starts to fall, he will play the role of the concerned gentleman.
A completely trusted figure.
He will simply offer to walk her to her carriage to get some fresh air. And because he is in a tailored suit, Speaking in a calm, authoritative doctor's voice, no one will stop him. In fact, they'll probably hold the door open for him,
She will walk right into his van.
leaning on the arm of the man who poisoned her.
The trap relies entirely on polite society's tendency to mind their own business and maintain appearances. The butcher understands that in Quality Hill, the greatest crime you can commit is causing a public scene.
Right.
By making Claire's paralysis look like public intoxication, he ensures that the surrounding crowd will actively facilitate his crime.
It's a chilling realization about how human nature works. Which brings us to the closing image of this episode, straight from the script fragments.
It's so cinematic.
I want you to really picture this moment. The grand ballroom is glowing with light from the chandeliers, a jazz band is playing, people are laughing and drinking, and there is Claire Montgomery, the paralytic already taking full hold, her legs weakening beneath her silk gown. She's leaning heavily on the arm of Dr. Sterling. He's smiling, supporting her weight perfectly, looking every bit the heroic gentleman. They're walking away from the lights of the party, out through the French doors, toward the darkened, empty gardens.
And Eleanor is just stuck.
From all the way across the crowded ballroom, Eleanor Vance is trapped. She is blocked by a wall of dancing couples, clutching her wire, watching completely helplessly as the butcher walks his masterpiece right out the front door.
It's an incredibly powerful, haunting visual that perfectly encapsulates everything we've been talking about. The complete helplessness of the truth when it's confronted by the overwhelming power of a social facade.
The truth doesn't stand a chance.
Eleanor knows the reality, but the reality is silenced by the tuxedo in the ballroom.
So what does this all mean for you and me? It really forces you to look at your own daily behavioral probability. It makes you question how easily we conflate a nice suit, a smooth, educated voice, and good manners with actual safety.
We really do.
We are conditioned by movies and stories to look for monsters in the mud. We look for the terrifying, shadowy figure in the dark alleyway. We lock our doors when we drive through the gritty parts of town.
But the most dangerous predators don't break the rules of society.
They learn them, they master them, and then they use them as camouflage to walk right up to us in broad daylight.
This raises an important question, and it's something to carry with you long after we wrap up today. If a monster can hide his darkest, most violent intentions behind the noble guise of healing and immaculate high society etiquette, how much of our own trust in the people around us is based entirely on the costumes they wear?